Hey guys, welcome back to SciMath, and today we are going to be talking about the quadratic formula and where to use it and what does this quadratic formula exactly give us. So the first thing that we need to know is that a quadratic formula can be used only on quadratic equations. And so you may be wondering what a quadratic equation is. And basically, a quadratic equation is a polynomial equation that has a degree of 2. So the highest degree that this equation has is a degree of 2. And the standard form for a quadratic equation looks something like this. So the form is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So this is the formula. This is the form of a quadratic equation that you will see it in, that will indicate to you that you have to use the quadratic formula. And so you may be wondering now, what does the quadratic formula look like, and what do we use it to find? And let's talk about that. So the quadratic formula is just x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So with this formula now, what this helps us to find the quadratic formula, it helps us to find the x values or the coordinates that will make this whole equation 0. Whatever equation you are given, if it's in this format of the ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, if it's in this format, you can, with the help of this formula, you can find the x value that will make this whole equation 0. So that's the main goal of the quadratic formula, and it just makes your calculations go by faster. And so basically in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to use the quadratic formula to find an exact answer with the quadratic equations. And by exact answer, I mean that it's not going to be a decimal answer. It's just going to be in this format, and we're just going to simplify it the furthest we can. So let's look at a few examples to understand what I'm talking about. So the first example that I have here is 6x squared plus 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. So this is our first example, and the way that you want to do this is, first let me write down the formula, of course, because we haven't memorized it, but I would suggest memorizing it because it makes things go by faster. So our formula is minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The first step that I would suggest here is that in the formula, as you can see, the a, b, and c values are being used. And when I showed you the standard format of a quadratic equation, it was ax squared plus bx plus c. And so the first step would be to identify your a, b, and c values so you can plug them into the equation to find your x values that will help you make this equation equal to 0. So let's start by doing that. So our a value here is going to be 6, right? Because it's going to be 6. So the x square variable has a coefficient of 6. So a is 6. Next, let's look at b. So b is 3, right? Because plus 3x, that would make sense. And lastly, our c value here, this is something to keep in mind. Whenever you're picking your A, B, and C values, you have to keep the signs in mind, that the sign in front of the coefficient that is there. So our C is negative 1 because the standard form that I showed you, everything was positive because it was ax squared plus bx plus c. But here we can see that it's a negative 1. And so it would make sense that c has to be a negative 1 in order for that to happen. So you have to consider the signs when picking your A, B, and C values. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let's plug this into our equation. So when we do that, we have minus, and we have to put in our B value. Our B value is 3, and plus or minus square root of B squared. So we do 3 squared minus 4 times A, which is 6 in our case, and C, which is negative 1. And something to keep in mind is that the square root is over this whole quantity of b squared minus 4ac. And then this whole thing is all over 2a, and our a is just 6. Now that we have that, we want to simplify this further to get to a proper answer, an exact answer, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, so that we can plug that value into our equation and set it equal to 0. So let's simplify this further. So when we do that, we get x is equal to negative 3, because we had a negative sign in front of the 3, so we just multiply. That's essentially saying that negative 1 times 3, so that's negative 3. So we do plus or minus, and the square root, we had 3 squared here because it was b squared, so that's just 9. 3 squared is just 9. And we do, so with the 4AC, the way I like to do it is I like to multiply out my constants first, my numbers, and then just keep the minus sign out there. And then whatever answer I get, I can compare it to the minus sign if I need to, if it's a minus minus, if I need to turn it into a plus, or if it's just a positive value that I get, then I just need to add the minus sign. So we, in our, I'm just going to write it to the side here, but we had, for our 4AC, we had 4 times 6 times negative 1. And so when we multiplied these three constants out, 4 times 6 is 24. 24 times negative 1 is just negative 24. So when we multiply this, we got negative 24. Now, like I said, we have to keep the sign in mind because I already have a minus sign out here that I kind of separated for the time being, so I can multiply these three numbers out. So because we have a negative 24 and we already have a minus sign there, a minus and a minus make a positive. So it's just 9 plus 24. And then let's not forget the 2 over a, and our a was just 6, so 2 times 6, which is 12. And let's simplify this further down. So x is equal to, let's do negative 3 plus or minus, so we do, so plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 20, square root of 9 plus 24 is just 33, and then 2 6 are 12. Now, as you can see, the plus or minus is something that might be new to you, or you might already know what it is. It's just basically saying that you have to separate the x. So it's what it's basically saying is that our x value can either be negative 3 plus square root of 33 all over 12, or our x value could just be x is equal to negative 3 minus square root of 33 all over 12. So that's what basically that plus minus sign means, is that you have these two x values, and so we have these two solutions basically. The x value can either be negative 3 plus square root of 33 all over 12, or it can be negative 3 minus square root of 33 all over 12. So if you plug either of these two x values into the equation, it will set it equal to 0. And that's what we're trying to find for. Now let's do another example. So the next example that I have is 5x squared plus 7x minus 2 is equal to 0. So once again, this time I'm not going to write the formula because I'm assuming that you either memorize the formula or because we've looked at it a bunch of times at this point, it should be fresh in your mind so you can kind of see how much you can recall on your own. So first step that I've said was always identify your a, b, and c values. So let's do that. So our a value here is 5 because our coefficient with x squared is 5. Our b value is 7. And our c value here is negative 2 because, like I said, the signs matter and you have to take that into consideration. Now let's just plug this straight into the formula. So we have negative b, right? So our b value is 7. So negative 7 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So we have 7 squared minus 4 times ac. So our a is 5 and our c is negative 2. And square root all over this and all over 2a. So our a is 5. 2 times 5. And this is our x coordinate that we're trying to find for. Now let's simplify this further. So we get x is equal to, it's still negative 7, plus or minus the square root 49, because 7 squared is 49. And like I said, the 4ac, let's multiply that out separately and then add the negative sign later. So 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 times negative 2 is negative 40. So again, we got a negative value. So we already have a negative sign outside, so it would just be 49 plus 40. This would all be over 2a, which is 2 times 5, and that's 10. So now we can simplify this further, and because this is not the full answer, right? The fully simplified answer, we need to simplify this further. So let's do that. So after that form, we get x is equal to minus 7 plus or minus the square root. We had 49 plus 40, right? And so 49 plus 40 is just 89. And for our 2a, we had 2 times 5, which is 10. Now, our final answer, because this is still not our final answer, I mean, it is, but we have to write it out separately. So it's negative 7 plus square root of 89. Sorry, that's a little messy. 89 all over 10. Or it can be x is equal to negative 7 minus square root of 89 all over 10. So those are our two x values. And like I said at the beginning of the video, we are going to be finding exact answers. And these are exact answers because we haven't simplified it any further down. And by simplifying it further down, I mean you can put these answers that we found here into a calculator and find the decimal equivalent of this and still plug it into the equation and get a 0. But this just makes it look more cleaner and neater, and it's faster this way. So this was more so finding the exact answer using the quadratic formula. And that's the end of this video. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed learning it. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And always remember to stay curious and keep learning. Thanks for watching.